So this is going to be the most popular question tonight. Yes, the air conditioner is on. And we have a plan. We're going to begin. If you would, Pastor Huey's going to lead us in prayer, and then Steve Lux will lead us in the pledge. Pastor Huey.
Father, we thank you for your gracious gift of life. We thank you for the gift we have of being in a place that's free, where we can assemble like this. God, we thank you for the privilege we have of influencing government. God, we recognize that you put leaders in authority and you take them out of authority. So we ask that you would work in the way that you choose to work in our land. Father, we pray as your people, you would help us as we do business tonight to be gracious and kind in all that is said and done. We ask it in Christ's name.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to jump into roll call. Please remember, if you have a proxy, please state your name and the person you're proxying for. Roger Adams.
Proxy, Monica Kendrick.
Marcella Adams.
Here.
Carrie Adams.
Here.
D. Ed Alvarez.
Here.
Rena Allman.
Here.
Tim Allman.
Here.
Susan Anderson.
Here.
Gary Begg.
Here.
Regina Begg.
Here.
Rick Bellinger.
Oh, proxy for Rick, Barbara Howe.
Proxy Barbara Howe. Carlton Billingsley.
Here.
Colson Billingsley.
Here.
Kim Bourgeois.
Here.
Mark Bourgeois.
Here.
Liz Bray.
Here.
Terry Bray.
Here.
Matt Brumley.
Roxy Rodney Wright.
Tracy Bullock. Clint Chisholm. Becky Clark.
Here.
Ann Clemmer.
Roxy Jamie Clemmer.
Jamie Clemmer. Melania Coleman.
Elena here.
Elena, sorry. I'm going to make that mistake every time. Pam Collier.
Here.
Leona Colson.
Here.
Ken Covington.
Here.
Rhonda Covington.
Here.
Candy Cox.
Here.
Chris Cox.
Here.
Terry Daly.
Here.
Cynthia Davis, proxy. Larry Davis, proxy. Andrew Decker.
Proxy, Terry Hawkins.
Brad Dow.
Here.
Lydia Dow.
Proxy Brad Dow.
Mike Duke. Here. Stephanie Duke.
Here.
CJ Engel. Brian English.
Proxy, Carol Tessier.
Shannon Everett.
Here.
Amanda Ewald.
Here.
Stephen Fay.
Here.
Kelly Ferguson.
Here.
Dana Fiddler. Lenny Fife. Greg Frank. Tony Furman. Ann Garner.
Here.
Jane Gurin.
Here.
David Gibson Jr. is absent. David Gibson Sr. is here. Allison Gray.
Here.
Scott Gray.
Here.
Angela Gray.
Here.
Dallas Green. Kim Hammer.
Here.
Tom Harper.
Here.
Francis Harper.
Proxy Tom Harper.
R.J. Hawk. Terry Hawkins.
Here.
Caleb Head. Alice Hogsett Carter.
Here.
Barbara Howe.
Here.
Dave Huey.
Here.
Luann Huey.
Here.
Cindy Irwin.
Here.
Rob Irwin.
Here.
Rusty Jackson.
Here.
Savannah Jackson.
Here.
Jenna James.
Here.
Eugene Jameson.
Here.
Jana Jennings.
Here.
Stephanie Johnson.
Here.
Amber Johnston.
Proxy Scott Gray.
Matthew Ty Johnston.
Proxy, Stephanie Day.
Joe Johnston.
Here.
Robert Johnston.
Here.
Jody Jordan.
Here.
Keith Keck.
Here.
Keith Kellum.
Here.
Terry Kellum.
Here.
Monica Kendrick.
Here.
Shane Knight. Jim Coleman. Clint Lancaster.
I'm here.
Jennifer Lancaster.
Here.
Mary Lancaster.
Proxy Sean McDonald.
Grace Lee.
Here.
Mary Lewis.
Here.
Mari Long.
Proxy, Liz Bragg.
Sonia Lucas Meyer.
Here.
Steve Lux.
Here.
Linda Marsh.
Here.
Drew Martin.
Proxy Rusty Jackson.
Julie Mayberry. Michael McLean.
Here.
David McCollum.
Here.
Sean McDonald.
Here.
Amber McDonald.
Here.
Kelly McElhaney.
Here.
Gabrielle Mills.
Here.
Richard Mills.
Here.
Jan Morse,
Here.
Jeff Morse,
Here.
Elaine Murray,
Here.
Julia Norris,
Here.
Lana Prosen,
Proxy Steve Lux.
Bob Ramsey, Shirley Reynolds,
Here.
Pat Roberts,
Proxy Everett Hatcher.
Ken Robinson, Renee Rogers, Gwen
Here.
Rogers,
Here.
Andrew Rogers,
Proxy Renee Rogers.
Angela Ross,
Here.
Justin Root, Micah Sample, Marla Sams,
Here.
Randy Sams,
Here.
Pat Sanders,
Here.
Tammy Smith,
Here.
Billy Scott,
Here.
Robert Scott,
Here.
Kathleen Scott,
Proxy Robert Scott.
Abby Sims, Christy Sims, Shane Sims, Timothy Sopel,
Here.
Charlotte Tennant,
Here.
Dwayne Tennant,
Here.
Carol Tessier,
Here.
John Thurston,
Here.
Trevor Belines,
Here.
J.R. Walters, Doyle Webb,
Here.
Billy Whipple,
Proxy Tom Harper.
Jim Whitley, Arlo Winfield,
Here.
Scott Wise, Rodney Wright,
Here.
Ken Yang, Claudette Zuber,
Here.
John Zilma,
Here.
Pat Bisbee,
Here.
Bob Bowman, Josh Curtis, Everett Hatcher.
Yeah, here.
Did I miss anyone that you think you are a member or active or inactive member? Reagan Kaiser.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Reagan. Anyone else?
Ronnie Norris.
Ronnie Norris. Anyone else?
Junior Ronnie Lindsay.
Yes, you are getting voted in. Right. Yes, ma'am. Linda Doggett. Same thing, getting voted in tonight. Gotcha.
Yes.
All right, so we do have a quorum, and what an awesome quorum we have. We're going to vote in new members, and I do want to say this, if I call your name, this means that you have attended 2 meetings, you paid your filing fee, and that you have read and agree with our party objectives and platforms. It is important that we follow the party rules, and I will restate this again after we complete this, and it probably one more time at the end of the meeting, just so we're all on the same page of being a member. So if you are here, just yell out, let me know. Janie Bianchi,
Here.
Michael Bianchi,
Here.
Amanda Bernard,
Here.
Mark Clark,
Here.
Cindy Colson, Linda Doggett,
Here.
Bradley Ewald,
Here.
Damon Helton, Judy Lindsay,
Here.
Ronald Lindsay,
Here.
and Miss Betty Van Bibber.
Here.
Have I missed anyone that you think that this is your second, you feel this is your second time attending, you've paid, and you haven't been voted in? Yes, ma'am. What's your name?
Peggy Wilcox.
Peggy Wilcox. Okay, so we will vote you in next month. Yes, ma'am.
Linda Tate.
Linda Tate. When did you turn in your application?
Tonight.
Tonight. So we will vote you in next month.
Okay.
Yes. All right, well, these are the new members. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Scott. Second. Julia. All those in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? Let's welcome these new members. All right. And again, for everyone who's not joined, if you're interested in joining or you're being nominated for membership, we want you to read the party objectives and principles prior to nomination. We want you to complete an application form, submit it to Renee tonight if you're here, attend 2 meetings, pay your fee, and then you'll be voted in. per our rules, you should be nominated at one meeting and voted in at the next. And so we just want to get back on track so everybody knows what the expectations are. Are there any guests that I have missed that we want to recognize tonight?
I have with me Mr. Larry and his lovely wife Joanna Elder.
Larry and Joanna, welcome.
Nancy Shelton.
Yes, Mr. and Ms. Shelton, good to have you here. Welcome. All right. So we're going to jump into old business. I did send out the meeting minutes from last month. Is there a motion to approve?
So
Mr.
moved.
McCollum? Is there a second?
I second it.
Second by Tim Allman. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Well, let's have Tom come up here and give us our treasurer's report. I think you all have a copy of that.
Okay, so for the new members, it should be floating around. If you haven't looked at it yet, it's basically last month's budget. So I'll keep it short. For anyone who's looked it over, do you have any questions? And if not, then I will be available. Yes, sir.
Question for you. First off, the details, thank you very much. on
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
With the details, I have a couple questions. So looking at the ending balance, on line 4, item 4, going through the rest of the items, 5 through 7.
Yep.
Looks like you got 2 options on the insurance coverage.
Yes.
Okay, so depending on if we were to.
Yeah, we'll be in the
balance
hole.
those items, we're either gonna be $300 positive or $140 in the hole.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about that here in a minute.
Okay, it just brings up some questions on optional expenditures, and maybe that needs to be a new business, so just
Yeah.
making sure we're aware of that and which direction we're going in budgeting properly. That's it.
Cool.
Going once, going twice. All right. All right. So is there a motion to accept the treasurer's report? Motion by, I'm sorry? Robert Johnson? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I do want to jump right into the insurance. I've been working for a couple of months. Last year we discussed this. We never pulled the trigger on it. With property values increasing, we felt the need to increase the coverage on the building. The coverage on the building is currently $341,900. We pay roughly $1,200 annually. We got a new quote. That quote bumps us up to $450,000 in coverage, and the cost goes up roughly $331 a year. So what I am seeking tonight is your approval to increase coverage on the building to $450,000. Say again?
Someone moved to
Tammy.
approve that.
Oh, you moved to approve. Tammy, I'm so sorry. Remember, I apologize, I cannot hear it all out of my right ear, so I'm always looking around.
Oh, okay.
Tammy Smith, approved.
Proposition as
Motion.
said.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second? Sonia Meyer. Any discussion?
Have we kept the deductible the same?
The deductible increased from $500 to $1,000. That was the way to control the cost, increased cost. Yes.
Mr. Chair. Perfectly fine whatever direction we decide to go with, but I think we do need to keep in mind that some of these other optional expenses by that direction will put us financially negative.
Absolutely, yes.
So we probably need potentially, again, new business. We probably need to revisit some of the other items that would put us in the hole.
Sure.
Well, you got to think about next month's
That's
income
fine.
as well. We'll be in the positive, but yes,
For
that's been
discussion,
considered.
if those debts come in, we are.
Okay.
I can yell. If any of the debts come into play based off this sheet and approving this, which is fine on insurance, we gotta cover those things. That's a required expense. Any of our optional expenses will put us negative in our general operating fund.
Right, yeah.
So, new business, when it comes around.
Right.
I think we need to make that discussion and decide what's optional and what not to do,
Correct,
potentially.
correct. And we've been discussing as an executive team, this insurance situation. And we meet Monday is our executive team meeting that we will be meeting and discussing as well.
It looks like, based here, sorry if that's point of order, you're due by June 4th. That'd be.
Yeah,
so-
June 5th.
Okay,
Yeah.
just make sure you've got that
Right.
underlined.
I've already spoken to the insurance adjuster. We will roll over automatically simply for clarification, regardless of what we do tonight or not. We will be covered, but we will have that check made out probably Monday afternoon and delivered it to the insurance agent.
What's the square footage of this place? Do we own the upstairs too?
We do. We own upstairs and we lease
What's the
that
square
out.
footage of all this?
Goodness, I am not sure.
You got it up.
3,200-ish, 3,200-ish square feet.
3,200 and you're getting how much, what is it?
450 will be the new coverage. It went from 341.9 to
So it's about
450.
$130 a foot. I don't think you covered it
Yeah.
at all.
Maybe
Think
not.
close.
We haven't increased our coverage. Goodness, how long's it been, Steve, since we've increased the coverage on this building? And it's a step in the right direction, and I agree with you. We need to bump it up and look at, but it also comes back to finances as well as what we can pay annually. But I agree with you. Next year, we'll do the same thing. We'll look at increasing it. But we'll also have some discussions with the tenants upstairs and look at fair market value for rent as well. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Are we looking at increasing the rent on our renters upstairs?
We will revisit that next year, but that has been a topic of discussion. Yes, they're getting a bargain at the moment.
They charge $200 per hour, and they're only paying $197.50 a month.
So in January, when we took over, their lease expired in January, and the handshake agreement they had was that's the agreed upon rent, and you can't, in my opinion, you can't just, hey, guess what? Your new rent price tomorrow is $400. So we kind of had to stick with it out of this handshake agreement. But yes, we're going to talk with on the executive committee and let them know ahead of time that we're going to increase their rent.
Yeah.
David,
Yes,
for perspective, we've historically increased their rent each year by the rate of inflation.
yes, that's correct. Thank you, Steve. And Shannon? Goodness. If our average is, if we're 3,200 square foot, I would say it would be a good idea to have approximately $600,000 coverage on this building.
Say you're looking at $200 a foot.
Yeah.
Do it, so.
Yeah.
That's probably right. That's close to 700.
Yeah, yeah. So it'd be 660.
So we're only saving a couple $100, but we're proposing ourselves a couple $100,000.
Right. No, hey, I hear you. I said the same thing for the last 2 years. And again, getting there, one step at a time. We can always revisit this. Next month, I'll go ahead and get a quote just to see what the expense for a $600,000 is and bring it back to this committee to vote on. Any further discussion? Yes, sir.
I see there's four people? 4 people, different rents, like $197.54.
Yes, for a total of.
So there's 4 different people upstairs?
That's correct.
So they don't have a whole lot of space each?
They've got a nice setup.
That's not a lot of rent.
That's right. That's right. And I do believe that that's a topic of for a little later date, but we will definitely address that as we move forward, probably in October, November.
So the last lease that I found in the file cabinet was dated 2016. So that's what they were paying in 2016.
All right. So, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of increasing our amount to $450,000, say aye. Aye. Is there any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Events report, Julia. Come on up. And by the way, congratulations. You're now the new Saline County Women's Republican Chair, is that correct?
Not yet officially.
Not yet officially, okay. Well, next month, sorry.
So there's the spoiler. So we've got Third Thursday coming up, and we're going to be setting up shop with some of the books from the library that everybody's hearing about, so people can come out and see for themselves instead of relying on what they're reading in the news. We're gonna have that available and talk to the public, whoever comes up to us. And of course, talk about the committee. And love some volunteers, so if anybody's available, come on out. We would love to have you help us. And just a reminder, we've got the business cards over here. Feel free to take some. That way, as you're out and about in the community talking about the committee, you can hand people a card. It says when we meet, how to get a hold of us, and all this good stuff.
I have a question.
Yes.
If you don't mind. Where will these books be displayed? Because there will be thousands of children here too. And we don't, I mean, are we gonna like pull people aside and say, here's the book, and they can look at it like in a closed space? Or are they gonna be just out on a table for everybody to see?
Well, we have a table, and then we'll have them, and then the parents, because I don't know that kids are gonna be interested in the adults and over here with us.
We're
It's
gonna
more
be
for the.
inside. Oh, we're gonna be in here?
Is it inside? Okay. I hadn't gotten clarity on if it was inside or just outside where the books would be, so,
Okay.
but yeah. Anything, yes? Okay, well, and it's not like the books are gonna be unattended, so and the children going to the bathroom, I would expect to be monitored, but yes. What time does that start again?
It's at 6 o'clock, isn't it?
6 o'clock is when it starts, so, yeah, we start setting up at about 5:30.
What is the third Thursday? What's the date on that?
It's the third Thursday.
June 15th.
I didn't even look at it over here. Thank you, yeah, June 15th is the date.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Julia. All right, well, we're going to roll into, we have two speakers tonight. Our first speaker is someone that you know very well, Rose Mimms. She has served as Executive Director of the Arkansas Right to Life chapter for over 30 years. She's lived in Saline County most of her life, and tonight she's going to give us an update on current events and some breaking news. So y'all give Rose a warm welcome.
Well, thank you, David. It's great to be among a friendly crowd. So thank you very much, Pastor Huey. Thank you for your prayer. He thanked God for the gift of life, and what a gift it is. And I'm happy to be here with you tonight to share with you some, like David said, some breaking news. But first, before I get into that, I want to just mention that Arkansas Right to Life began in 1974. We're the state affiliate of the National Right to Life Committee out of Washington, D.C., and we have local chapters all around Arkansas. And y'all have a Saline County Right to Life chapter right here. And Candy Cox, she was in here, and Jody Jordan back there. Would love to have your support and your involvement. So see them if you're interested. Also wanted to point out Doyle Webb, he's here. He is on our board of directors, so thank you, Doyle, for your service to Arkansas Right to Life. I brought lots of free materials. My assistant back there, Skylar Harper, has lots of things for y'all to pick up, so please do. We've got our decal. That's just a window sticker. We got the Choose Life plate. I hope you all have a Choose Life plate because that supports adoption. Safe Haven, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. And then we do a handbook every year that has the legislative report in it on pro-life laws that were passed. So I hope you'll take advantage of all the materials that we brought. If you had a chance to watch the news tonight, you probably saw the story about the third baby that was surrendered in the Safe Haven baby box. It's fire station number 3 out on Edison. This was the second baby within just a few weeks at that particular fire station. And the third baby for that fire station, and that was our very first Safe Haven baby box in Arkansas that we dedicated in September of 2019. And just about 8 months later, in May of 2020, the first baby was put in that box. So congratulations, Benton, for being so pro-life to welcome a Safe Haven baby box, because Chief Bill Ford called us and said, hey, I'm interested in this. We were just trying to get the bill passed in the General Assembly in 2019. And to have a fire chief call us and say, hey, I'm interested, I want to do it. Hey, I wouldn't leave him alone after that. Y'all were going to get a box, and you did, and 8 months later, you got a baby. So congratulations. So we're coming up on a big anniversary. And you should all be aware of that because it was all something that we had been working for years and years, and that is to see Roe versus Wade overturned. And that happened on June 24th, 2022. Yes. And y'all all had a part in it. And so thank you very much. And Arkansas Right to Life has came up on an idea on how to mark that anniversary, to celebrate it, to claim the victory. And that's the name of our campaign. It's going to be a signature ad campaign. Many of y'all may have seen it already on our Facebook or gotten an email about it. We've been doing lots of email blasts. And what we're asking all the pro-life people in Arkansas to do is to join with us in claiming the victory for the end of Roe versus Wade and the protection of life in Arkansas. You know, abortion ended in Arkansas on that same day, on that afternoon. And we've had, as far as I know, 0 abortions in Arkansas. Now, we can't be naive and think abortions aren't happening, illegal ones, because they probably are. But we're not endorsing it. And many women, just like the mother who surrendered her baby on Tuesday night at the fire station, you know, she didn't have an abortion. She chose life. She chose adoption for her child. And that was a great gift, a great parenting decision that mom made. And she's very brave to do that. Amen. So join us, please, in the signature ad. We've got a letter and forms. And everybody that wants to sign on to the ad, we've got to have like a permission slip from you to say, yes, I want my name on that ad. So I've got a little letter explaining the campaign and the ad form on the back, and Skylar has those back there. So please pick one up before you leave. David is going to be including some information, I think, by email to y'all maybe about it, because we do have an electronic way to sign on too. So please do that. If you can give a donation, you know, for that, to help defray the cost of the ad, it would be great. It's going to be, we hope, a full-page ad in the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. It will be on Sunday, June 25th. So be looking for that, and please help us to, you know, make an impression on the people of Arkansas that we support life, and we do. You know, we were named the most pro-life state 3 years in a row, 2021, 2020, and 2022. And that's because of y'all too, because you elected pro-life candidates to office. They passed pro-life bills. We had a pro-life governor that signed them. And so, yes, we are the most pro-life state. They haven't named the one in 2023 yet, but who knows? We might be for 4 years in a row. You know, this legislative session, there were a lot of good pro-life laws passed, but there were at least 3 bills introduced that wanted to weaken our law, wanted to add the exceptions for different things, and none of those made it out of committee. But there was one piece of legislation that was introduced that to me just signals what the other side, what those who don't respect life, don't consider it a gift like we do, want to do. And that was HJR 1008. And if you haven't looked that up or read it, please do, because it's like a blueprint of what will happen if anybody with lots of money, like Center for Reproductive Justice or, you know, Planned Parenthood, or I don't know who all they are, but the enemies of life, I call them. They want to come in, they want to repeal Amendment 68 right away, you know, the Unborn Child Amendment, that says it's the policy of the state of Arkansas to protect an unborn child from the moment of conception until birth, and is permitted by the federal Constitution. Well, in Arkansas, we respect life, we want to protect life, and they wanted to put this resolution before the people. They called it the Arkansas Health Care Act. Well, there's nothing healthy about killing a baby, but that's what they want to do, and they want it through all 9 months of pregnancy. You know, it would abolish all of our pro-life laws and would make Arkansas abortion on demand again. So we've got to do everything that we can to pass pro-life resolutions in Saline County, Saline County has done that. Y'all have passed a pro-life resolution that says you are a pro-life county, right? Yeah, and I would encourage you for Benton to do that, you know, a city. So we want that to happen all over Arkansas, for counties to pass pro-life resolutions, to send a loud and clear message, like I believe the ad will do, that Arkansas is a pro-life state, and they can come with their money, but they are not going to kill our unborn children. So I need your help. So join Saline County Right to Life. Join Arkansas Right to Life if you haven't done that. You know, we don't get federal money. We're not like Planned Parenthood. We don't get billions of dollars. So we rely on members and friends to help us. Just a few last things, and then I'm going to turn it over to Senator Clark. But I wanted to tell y'all about Camp Joshua. That is a camp that Arkansas Right to Life has had now for 10 years or more. And it's for teenagers to come and spend a weekend at Crosshairs Retreat Center to learn all about the pro-life issues, abortion, infanticide, and euthanasia. And it's a great opportunity for students to learn about the issues, to be able to speak about the issues to their friends and their teachers even, and to enjoy other pro-life kids, to fellowship, and have fun, because we have fun at Camp Joshua. It's $100 for the weekend. We haven't raised that price since the beginning. So it's very affordable. We do have scholarships if anybody cannot afford the $100. And finally, I just want to give you 2 dates to remember. The March for Life is going to be Sunday, January 21st. And then we're going to do Bow Ties for Babies again, 2024. We do it at the Benton Event Center, and that's going to be Thursday, January 25th. I would really love the support and the help of the Saline County Republican Group for that event. It's a big event, and Arkansas Right to Life will be celebrating 50 years in 2024. So y'all are friends. I want to be your friend. See me on Facebook, follow me, and please support our events. Come to Camp Joshua, send your kids to Camp Joshua, and join us on the signature ad. Thank you very much. So David said I could answer questions. Does anybody have a question?
What's the date for Camp Joshua?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question. July 28th through 30, and we have flyers on the table if you're interested in that for your teenager. Yes, ma'am.
It is teenage. That's what I was going to ask the ages.
13 to 19, but we have had younger kids and we've had older kids, so I do make exceptions. And we only we limit it to 25 kids, so we've already started taking registration. So please, if you're interested, call us. And if you want to join, register online, you can do that, but you have to pay if you register online. So if you need a scholarship, call the office. Okay? Anybody else? No? Okay, thank you for your time. Please visit our table.
Thank you.
All right, well, that brings us to our next guest speaker, Senator Alan Clark. Senator Clark is no stranger to our county committee. I could read his bio, and we were joking earlier. What I know about Senator Clark is he stands up for children. He stands up for uniting families. And I think his attributes demonstrate what leadership is all about. So I'm not going to belabor the point, so let's welcome Senator Alan Clark.
Thank you, David. And thank you for not going through all of that. I told David earlier, I keep meaning to make a self-deprecating bio, because I just sit there, when we're introducing people, as you really think you're that important. I had some things I sent to a reunion one time. One of them is I was young Republican. Whoever goes to the convention. Delegate. It was something beyond that. Anyway, and that's really impressive on your resume. Now, if you add to that, because I was the only young Republican in the state. Yeah, so a lot of things, a lot of things happen that way. You look important on your resume, but it's just because of the way your life worked out. Would y'all like to stand up for about 5 seconds? If I were you, I'd want to stand up for about 5 seconds and stretch my legs.
Back then.
Okay, be good and stretch. All right, let's go.
Yeah, I was afraid you was getting ready to say charge.
Well, this might be the group. There's never a lack of enthusiasm in Saline County. And I want to tell you, it's kind of like, sometimes people say, why should I go to church? Why should I go to this meeting? I want to tell you what. Louder.
There you go.
Just come out. I probably won't keep it held up here, but just coming in the room tonight energized me. And I want to tell you that's important. We have Representative Rick McClure here. We have Senator Hammer here. We have a host of other elected officials. Am I missing any other legislators that are here that I didn't say? And I want to tell you, sometimes you get down. Sometimes there's just so many things to fight against. I mean, you think about the transgender issue, and you're like, why are we even having to have this fight? And you can really get hit pretty hard in other arenas, not here tonight. And so it's energizing to see all of you out here with this enthusiasm. And I remember when I first joined the Garland County Committee, never had any idea that I would be county chair, never had any idea that I would run for anything. In fact, I told my family, I said, I want to be where I can meet the candidates, shake their hand, look them in the eye, and hear what they have to say. That's as good a reason for being here as any other. And had no idea that I would go on from there. In 2010, I was county chair against my wishes of the Garland County Republican Committee, and we had never had a county-wide elected official that was a Republican. Well, not since 1860, but 1865. In over 140 years, we had only had one state representative, Ted Mullenix. We'd never had a state senator. We had never had a majority on the quorum court, and I could go on. And we won 21 seats that year. And a couple lessons from that. One, I went and knocked on doors. I kept telling the candidates they needed to go knock on doors, and when I couldn't get them to go finally in September, I took them by the hands and took them to knock on doors. And I was out in every area, and when I would ask people if they needed any help. And we had one young man, great young man who ran for JP. 21-1 was our record. He lost by 4 votes. And the interesting thing is I never went out to his district and helped him. And the only reason I didn't is I kept asking him, how's it going? He said, I'm fine. Go help somebody else. I got it. And so I would remind you that our candidates, scared or unopposed, never think that you've got it until the vote is in. And the other, that getting out there and doing the work matters. We can't get complacent that we have 3/4 of the Senate or that we have 3/4 of the House. Because I want to tell you what, that can change very easily. And that was a subject that I thought I might speak on. Because I always pray, when I'm asked to speak, I always pray, say, God, what would you have me to say? Whether it's what they expect me to say, they think I'm way off in left field, what would you have me to say? And sometimes, often, it's not till that day. It's not because I don't study. And Pulaski County knows, because I preached a sermon. I had the honor of speaking to the Pulaski County Republican Committee, and I just pretty much preached a sermon there, which is not what I normally do. But thank you for having me. Thank you for supporting me and electing me. And let me tell you which one of you, a lot of you supported me. But my district now is most of Hot Spring County, Malvern, Bismarck, eastern Garland County, northern Grant County, and most of rural Saline County except north of Benton Bryant. That's Salem area. Senator Hammer has Benton Bryant in that area. But from East End all the way almost to Perrin, except for the village, Senator McKee has that, is mine. And that fits real well with me. I'm a country boy. And most of my area is rural and I'm country, so that works real well. But thank you for what you do, both in your activism and your concern and getting out and helping get a candidate selected. You certainly were instrumental in getting me elected 10 years ago. And thank you for supporting us on the hard issues as we serve. Also, although I do forget, I can't forget to recognize my wife, Jana, who's right back over here, high school sweetheart. We've been happily married, shouldn't have said that part, because we've been happily married for 30 years. Now, I think we just celebrated our 43rd or 4th, I thought, 44th wedding anniversary, but you know, for those of you who've been married a long time, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So, but no, she has been a gift from God, and I could not do what I do without her. If you're ever thinking about running, that's the most important thing is your spouse on board. I don't care how called you may be, not just think you are. I don't think how called you may be, because this is not a one-person effort. She mows the yard, she gets the trucks and cars serviced, she does all kinds of things that you think that a husband would do because she allows me to get out and serve you, be all the places that I am, try to help all the children that we can, and I couldn't do it if it wasn't for her commitment to help me do that. As I was trying to figure out what direction I was going to go, I decided I was just going to ask you some common sense questions. I think I know what your answers will be. I hope I know what your answers will be. But I think not only, this is a very conservative crowd, but I think that the answers would be the same in any group almost that wasn't coached to have a different answer. Now I'm full of questions, so at some point, David may have to pull me off. But I'm going to start with, do you think that a child who has attended school for 11 years, or 5 years if they're in elementary school and they got another year to go, or been part of a band program since they were in the 7th grade, be forced to leave the school they have always known because they moved a few blocks down the road, 3/4 of a mile down the road, and did not realize, their parents didn't realize that they were moving out of the district so that the kids had to change schools. Do you think those kids should have to change schools? No. We fixed that. I ran a little bill this time, early in the session, called the Right to Stay. It actually affected me when I was in high school. And now, once you're in a school, come August, that's when all these bills that didn't have an emergency clause will take effect. Come August, once you're in a school, you have a right to stay. School does not have to provide transportation, but you have that your child, once they're in a school, for whatever reason they're there, they have a right to stay as long as they want to stay until they graduate. So that's one of those little things you probably didn't know we did. It's a big thing. Do you think that a child should be penalizing for utilizing school choice? Not be able to, for instance, to be in the band or the science club or FFA? No. I knew what your answer would be. We didn't entirely fix that, but we came close. My bill would have fixed it. Before we amended it, it was real simple. It said you can't discriminate against a child or their parents for utilizing school choice. That makes sense, doesn't it? But we're really worried about our sports team. Now, I played football, my wife played basketball, we're into sports. But I'm not that worried about your sports team. I am worried about kids. I'm worried about parents' rights to control the education of their kids. And by the way, you already couldn't keep a kid from playing in the band. You couldn't keep them out of the science club, but you could keep them from playing football and basketball. And we were making kids across the state sit out a year because they chose to leave. No, we didn't completely fix that. You have to fill out a form, and there is one exception to it, but for the most part, we fixed it. An improvement is always better. Do you think that a father should not be told that he has a child for 18 years, be denied the rights and privileges of fatherhood, and then sued as the child turns 18 for 18 years of back child support? Well, we had a couple of court decisions in this state that said differently. And actually, if you can imagine, broke people financially. Besides the fact that I wanted to be a dad. I would have been a dad, but couldn't be. And the law now says you can only go back 3 years. We allow the judges some discretion. You say, well, what about so-and-so and so-and-so? Well, if you're sitting on your rights, that's not the people's fault. Okay, you can go back 3 years on child support, but no further. Do you think that wealthy parents would educate their children if there were no public schools?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think that middle-class parents would educate their children if there were no public schools? Most of them would. Do you agree that if a child is taught to read, the whole world is opened up to them? Me too. Do you know that public schools were started in the U.S. with the primary purpose of teaching the populace to read? You know, the biggest thing that we're told that we can't do? Teach poor kids to read. Well, if rich people, if wealthy people would educate their kids and middle class people would educate their kids, why do we have public schools? To educate poor kids and most importantly, to teach them to read. And so if we're failing at the most important thing, we need something like the LEARNS bill/act whose main focus is concentrating on teaching poor kids to read. Now, we don't say poor kids because we want to teach all kids to read. But poor is where we're failing. It can be the best school district in the state. It can be the worst school district in the state. You look, and a lot of times it's poor and minorities that aren't getting there. And so a lot of other things in the LEARNS bill, but that's one of the reasons that I was so much behind it. Do you think that serious violent criminals should serve most of their sentences and that putting them back, serious repeat violent criminals should serve most of their sentences, and that putting them back out on the street endangers the public, and especially the poor neighborhoods where they primarily live? Yes. We improved that. We have a lot more truth in sentencing, and we have a lot more laws for violent criminals that they will serve 75, 85%, or 100% of their sentences. That was part of the Justice Reform Act. Those were the two big acts from the governor. Legislators carried it, but the left will continue to fight those things, but they were the right thing. You think that if we intend to rehabilitate criminals, them serving their entire sentence in a county jail where they cannot be availed of any of the programs and services designed to rehabilitate them is not a good thing? In other words, that we want to rehabilitate them, but we leave them in a county jail because we ain't got prison space for them, which is a big problem for the sheriff and other sheriff. That we're putting the state responsibilities back on the counties, but not only are we putting the state responsibility back on the county, we're not doing the things for these prisoners that we're supposed to be doing. A lot of times they send them down to the prison for a few days so that they can be released. That's not the way to do things, is it? Again, that's what this criminal justice reform bill was about. We improved that. We didn't fix it, but we improved it. We're on our way. And I think this governor will continue to take on, that's one of the things I like about her. I mean, I knew her since she was this tall, but one of the things I like about her is she's not afraid to take on big controversial subjects and do something. Amen. So, do you think that the consideration of a protest of a library book should be a private, behind closed doors meeting or a public meeting? Public. Who could disagree with that? We fixed that. Do you believe, and I know I had this up here somewhere, I skipped it, no I did. Do you believe that a library employee should be guilty of a misdemeanor for telling an inquiring parent what books their 12-year-old child, or 5-year-old, or 8-year-old is checking out? Yes. No. I missed it. Up until August actually, because there was no emergency clause, but until this session, it was against the law for a librarian or a library employee to tell you as a parent what your child was reading. And that was one of the things as we helped with Senator Sullivan's bill behind the scenes, that the actually head of the Library Association is the Garland County librarian, who was quite reasonable. And that was one of the things he brought out. He said, well, I'd like to tell parents, but by law we can't. And I'm glad that that's being fixed. And aren't you glad that we fixed that? Yes. Do you believe that the government and government officials are always right? Or that citizens should have the power to disagree and file an official protest, especially in regards to protecting children? Say, for instance, they believe a book is not appropriate for children. Yes. Of course they should. You know, I mean, why anybody would even find that controversial is beyond me. And having having seen some of the things that I couldn't believe, I sat, and you can go back and watch the video, I sat and questioned the Jonesboro librarian who was at the center of all of this, who testified that they could not discriminate. Keep in mind, my dad was a high school librarian, that they could not discriminate for age. And so that anything that an adult could see, that this is what she testified. That they have to let a 5-year-old see. And I said to myself, I didn't say it out loud, you're an idiot. But what I said out loud was something similar to that, because if I were king of the world, I would have fired her as soon as this happened. I would have fired the whole library board as soon as this happened. I don't care who appointed them. And I'm not going to tell you that you and I may agree on every book, but there's a process. There's a process that says, no, the government's not always right. A government official is not always right. A lot of times people don't realize they're government officials. And now there's a process that says, an open process that says, here's something that we don't think belongs where children can see it. Now, we don't question that. You know, because I've got this argument, I post on Facebook, and I've got this argument back from the left. Well, you know, other people's kids. I want to tell you what. You don't get to allow other people's kids to go see an R-rated movie. Now, you can rent that movie, you can have it on cable, you can have it in your house, and you can show it to your kids. But you don't get to, at the movie theater, say, well, I think all kids ought to be able to go, regardless of whether they're 17 or not. You don't get to do that, do you? No, we should be protecting kids. We should be protected. We should keep their innocence. Why this society doesn't want to protect the innocence of children is beyond me. There's things that, you know, sometimes, things happen, things can't be helped, but other times, there's things that kids don't need to know. Let them be kids. And I'm not even going to talk about the reason, but regardless, there's so many other things we did, and mine was, everything I talked about here, but justice reform was around children, education, and children. And I want you to know that your legislature, I didn't agree with everything we did. You didn't agree with everything we did, but overall, we did a lot of common sense things that have needed to be done for a long time. And I hope with this governor and this conservative legislature, we're on our way to do a lot more, and especially if you're back there pushing us. Thank you.
Next, we're going to move into new business, and Jennifer is going to come give us a Saline County Republican Women's Report. Yes, ma'am.
I know I've been gotten onto by Jennifer already. I'm not taking pictures.
Senator Clark, will you please come back up here?
I needed to come get my Dr. Pepper anyway.
Your enthusiasm, your hard work, your dedication. You stood up here and said things were very common sense. You stand for people. You understand that elected officials are elected to represent the people. And so with that said, Saline County would like to present you with the People's Champion Award for your service, for your dedication, and for your commitment.
Thank you. You're too kind. This was not expected.
We're so thankful for the work that you do.
We're thankful to be able to do it. Until recently, I told people, I know they thought I was exaggerating. If anybody ever told me I'd be working 90 hours a week in my life, I'd have told them they were lying. But between having what we call our real jobs, because we are citizen legislators in the Senate, and people put in different amounts of time, but I can tell you the legislators in this room put in the same amount of time that I do. And the philosophical stuff is really important to me. But the most important thing I figured out as a retailer, grew up in a family business, that I always thought I could train anything. In customer service, you either get it or you don't. You either like to help people, and I have to tell you, God created me liking to help people. And the most rewarding thing I get to do is to help people that wouldn't have got help if we hadn't been there. And we wouldn't be here, because Lord knows I never thought I'd be a state senator. I was the least likely candidate. And so you may be one of those that God's calling. We wouldn't be there if not for the work that you did and the money that you gave, and and the others are the same. You never underestimate what it is you're doing. And I have to tell you this. There was a guy that first election that stayed at the courthouse during early voting and helped Jana hold signs and was a friend of the family. And my dad raised cattle and sold some meat. And he told me, he said, Stacy's giving you $25 a month for your campaign. And I said, yeah, he told me he was committed to give me $25 a month. He wasn't a rich man. Dad said, he's doing without the hamburger meat that he's paying $25 a month for every month in order to give that to your campaign. So I never forget that this is about the people. Without you, and you don't forget that $10 a month matters. It matters. We don't get elected except you get in there, and I want to tell you, sometimes it's just somebody peeing there. Sometimes it's not the knocking on doors, it's the fact that somebody showed up that cared to knock on doors. I'm speaking for everybody that's ever run now. Guys, if this country's ever been in a place where we have to fight, it's now. Amen. Thank you so much.
Yes, we are so grateful. Clint's back there, we were at the Capitol quite a bit this last legislative session, and we really watched Senator Clark work hard for the people. We're just so grateful for him. And what an honor it was to watch him work for us and listen to us. And he's one of them that truly realizes that he is here to serve the people. And we're just grateful for you. Okay, so I have a couple of announcements, but Allison, do you mind showing a video? And while she's looking that up, can we have a round of applause for our JPs and our county judge who has really gone to bat for us? We are grateful for you. Thank you for taking a stand for our children. If we don't, no one else will, and just know that we're grateful. Okay, do you have the video ready? So while she's pulling it up, I am the chair of the 2nd District, and we are so excited to announce our first meeting since I was elected. We have Carrie Lake coming on July 15th. We have 3 congressional districts that have gotten together to bring you this awesome event. I hope you guys are going to love it and are as excited about it as I am. So Carrie Lake is going to come for $35. We're going to provide you a light breakfast and lunch. You get to see Carrie Lake and hear from her. During lunch, she's going to do a book signing. Pictures will be an option. And then during lunch, we're going to have Dave Ellswick and Jenny Lauren Dowden from Conduit engaging in an interview, maybe a round table at that time. And then we're going to have 6 breakout sessions. We have some great speakers that are coming to Arkansas for this, in addition to Carrie Lake. One of them is Mark Cook, who is Carrie Lake's expert witness in her court case. So he is going to be talking all about election fraud. We have Garrett Ziegler, who is our expert witness in the Biden case. He got Hunter Biden's laptop from Rudy Giuliani, and so he is an expert on that. He's going to be doing a breakout session on what is in Hunter's laptop. And then we have Charles Fuquay. He is an Arkansas attorney. He's going to be talking about the financial system. We have Jason Bollinger, who is the chair of the Faulkner County Republican Committee. He's a great chairman, and he's going to be talking about the 2024 ground game. And then we also have our own Angela Gray, who's going to be sitting on a library panel. We're going to have a number of excellent men and women from around the state who have been really the boots on the ground in this library battle, and we're going to bring them all together so you can hear about their different perspectives and get some questions answered and regroup and move forward because we're going to win. Okay. So here is a little promo video.
Are you in this fight with us?
Operation Freedom. 3 Arkansas districts joining together, standing up and speaking out as a coalition of congressional districts.
I got a message for Joe. Wake up, Joe. We do not need your permission to defend our state. I believe Biden is the president just like OJ is innocent. You're going to start throwing around election denier. Let's remember who the other election deniers were. Hillary Clinton and all the Democrats. But here in America, people are tuning out the corporate media. You say it was debunked because everything that you guys don't agree with, you debunk. No longer will we as Americans put up with this. We demand fair, honest, transparent elections, and we will get them. Let's talk about election deniers. Here's 150 examples of Democrats denying election results. I worked in the media, I worked in the media. I know what you guys are trying to do. You don't give a damn about our elections. You've got a narrative, and you're trying to push it.
This is a war on religion. This is a war on the children. They get the cure with the sickness. This is a war on tradition. It's clear to all of us, America is at war. Big news that are telling the establishment they're not going to take it anymore.
We've got Arkansas recently held their districts or the county GOP party elections, and the adjectives that are being used to describe the victories from America First are, they're saying the establishment got clobbered, that they were annihilated.
These are MAGA states with MAGA patriots, right? And who better to help lead us in that charge than Arizona's own Carrie Lake? Featured speakers, lunch, and powerful breakout sessions.
Well, we're 6 feet apart. Do you have a minute to chat? I'll do an interview. Okay. As long as it airs on CNN Plus. Does that still exist? I didn't think so, because the people don't like what you guys are doing. Erotic freak? I'll do it on CNN Plus. Oh, that failed because everyone hates you. President Trump won that election in 2020. You did those corruptions. How old are you? 41. You're 41 and you dress like a 13-year-old.
July 15th at the Veteran Event Center in Cabot, Arkansas. All are welcome. Register at coalitionofcongressionaldistricts.com.
Congressional district chairman got together, and we just wanted to put an event together to celebrate you guys, to celebrate America. This is an America First event. This is pro-God, pro-freedom, pro-we the people. And this is going to be a great time for we the people to come together, get to know each other, spend some great time together, and hear from some great speakers. And so everyone is welcome. Okay, everyone. So come on. Tickets, again, only $35, and we're giving you lunch and breakfast. Okay? We did everything we could to make this very affordable because we know inflation's going up. Thank you, Biden. That we want to make it so it's a time that we can all come together and get some reprieve from just the fights, right? So, yeah, please come. Oh, and when I say everyone's welcome, I know a lot of you were at the last district meeting, and Iverson Jackson was denied admittance into the meeting. He will be closing us in prayer at this meeting. So registration, the day of the 15th, it begins at 8:30, and then doors open, the meeting convenes at 10. So, are there any other questions about that?
How do you get access to tickets? Are they online or do we have to purchase them from somebody?
They are online. We have an Eventbrite up, and we're Facebook friends, so.
Yes, on the Saline County Republican Women's Facebook page.
If you go to SalineRepublicans.com, it's the first story.
Okay, it's on there. I don't think I posted the Eventbrite yet,
No.
so I apologize. I'll get that posted tonight. But Scott, will you repeat that again, please?
Yeah, it's on our website, SalineRepublicans.com. You can click through. You'll have to click about 3 times to actually purchase the tickets.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, and so I'll also go ahead and talk a little bit about Constitution Camp, just briefly, because you've all heard me talk about it so many times. But we already have a lot of kids that are registering. Volunteers this year, thank you guys. I'm so grateful for all the volunteers that have signed up to help us out. We have quite a few really exciting speakers that have already committed to come, including former Governor Mike Huckabee. He's going to be there. We have AG Tim Griffin and our Sheriff, Rodney Wright. Okay, and then I will finish this out with, I know many of you, well, hopefully everybody saw that a complaint was filed. That was circulated yesterday, so I want to make you all aware of that. A complaint was filed alleging that we violated a rule, and that specific rule is in Article 3, Section 2-4A. And it's the one that says, I know many of you remember this, the elected officials must submit their intent in writing at the time of filing if they wish to be a district member. They did not, and so therefore, those positions were filled by an election from the body. So just to recap some of the facts, they filed, they did not submit their intent in writing, and then during the biennial convention, the second part of that rule says any vacant positions will be filled at the biennial convention. At the biennial convention, it was stated that there were 41 seats, and volunteers were asked to raise their hand if they'd like to go. I believe we filled 22 of those seats. A subsequent motion was made that anyone who decided they wanted to be a district member later, then they could do that. Then they could submit their intent to the chairman and he could appoint them. So about 7 months passed, and that's when we had the election, and I'm sure many of you remember that. And that's when all the positions were filled. So the complaint arises from those facts, and so I want to make you all aware because it is against the Saline County Republican Committee. And so we will be having a hearing on that, and it's next Wednesday right here at 6 p.m. And all elected officials and district members and actually members from the county committee are welcome to speak. There will be a limit on the length of time, but you are welcome to speak. Let's see here. I believe that should cover it. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
I just want to follow up because I talked to Chairman David about it. I followed everything that you did with Saline County Library, and I followed excellent posts that were made on Facebook, and especially the Saline County newspaper website and all that. But my question was, did y'all do anything checking the schools' libraries, the elementary, junior high, and high school? Do we not have any concern with those because there's no one there to supervise?
Thank you for your question, and there are definitely concerns, and I'm looking for Angela because I assume she can probably speak to that a little bit better than I can. I will tell you, we're limited in resources, and you may or may not know, but over 100 books just from our local county library have been found to have this inappropriate material. So it's taking up a lot of time to go through those books and get them up on the website. And as you know, many of our people have jobs, and so that's where the focus is.
It's been a tremendous job, very tenacious. But I just wonder if there's some other libraries that we haven't checked.
Yes. Yeah, does anybody want to speak on it? Okay, my husband does.
I talked to Paul Childress, who's on the Benton School Board, and maybe Mr. Duke does the same thing, but Paula told me today that he has directed the library and the Benton school system to go through their library twice in separate months. So they said go through 1 month, and then the next month he said go back again. And the librarian has reported both times that any offensive books are no longer available.
Yay.
Okay, and, well, would you like to tell them that? Why don't you tell them?
So, Clint connected me with Mr. Childers, and he's also going to look at the Chromebooks, and he's gonna be reaching out to you.
She had her hand raised first.
When the library says there are no longer remains offensive books, we've heard earlier that there are no offensive books in the library. So what good is that report?
So to be clear, the offensive books was my language. He said that he told her to go and get the books that were the subjects of that we had been complaining about out. And so I made a broad generalization of offensive books. So let's narrow that down to like the books that we're talking about that had the like sexual conduct and all the things that we've seen. Those are the books he specifically told me that he had her look for. And now,
Yeah, but it's the library looking for their own.
yeah, I understand, but I kind of like what we're dealing with our library. If at first, they don't do it, then here comes the hammer.
So, yes, and I can add to that. I asked the same question you did to this gentleman and said, I want you to be connected with Angela and the other Saline County Republican women who have led this charge so they can give you a list of books and so they can validate that in fact these offensive books are not in there. So, yes.
Which library are we talking about?
That's been.
Bit.
High
Bit
school?
school.
High school, grade school,
Yeah.
school.
He said library, so I'm assuming that means all this is the person in charge of libraries.
That's right.
But I told Mr. Childers that, he should come to these meetings and tell people himself. And he said he would come tonight, he said the Benton School Board is meeting, and it's a rather long meeting over some kind of intense topics. So he didn't know if he would get out in time. But he said he would come next month, and he's looking forward to becoming more active.
And I would say this, doesn't that show you that God's very intentional? There's no such thing as coincidence. It's intentional, and it is amazing the group of people that God has assembled here. Yes, sir. Jim.
On the topic that Jennifer brought up, the committee members who we elected to go to district, did they show up? Did they do their voting? Did they do everything like we expected them to do?
Yes, I think we had, Renee, help me, 100% participation?
100%.
Yeah, somebody else, yeah. Maybe 6, but did they give proxies? I think they all had proxies. Okay, yeah.
Did they all vote together in the way that we expected? Is there anything that they didn't do that somebody else could have done because they didn't serve in that role?
So what you're asking is those who were elected by this body in February, did they show up in full force? Yes, they did. Did they represent us? Yes, absolutely. And so I don't believe there was any issue with the individuals who were elected in February or the one at the biennial meeting that let anyone down from Saline County. They were present, they were vocal, and they were leading. So.
Yes.
Do we know who filed the complaint?
Yes.
Yes, it was Mr. Doyle Webb. Stephanie?
I talked to quite a few elected officials yesterday, and I came to the conclusion that this was something that Mr. Webb presented to cause division within the party. And so, because a lot of them did not understand it how it came out, or had not read it, or were told that this was to challenge the rule with no action attached. Several I talked to said they had the complaint says that they want to take those positions back. Well, a lot of them do not want to be district members. So they didn't understand what they were signing, if they signed it. So I just want to point that out. I feel like it was a cause of Mr. Webb trying to cause division in the party to get us pitted against elected officials.
And so what I would say is Wednesday, just be present, come prepared. If you have something to say, share it. And then, hey, I'm a firm believer that God's always in control.
What time?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. Yes, sir.
You said something about limited on time, I mean, for speaker. Can you give us a time? 2 minutes?
Well, please don't hold me to it. It's going to be based on how many people show up. You know, I don't want to keep our board there all night. But I certainly want to give everybody an opportunity to be heard, because as Ms. Duke, I believe it was said, that the relief that is being sought is that those positions go back to the elected officials. And so, especially if you're a district member, you certainly need to have that opportunity to be heard. So, but to your question, I'm probably somewhere between 2 and 3 minutes.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. We're going to move on to the the Young Republicans report.
At this time, we will have a tentative meeting on June 22nd. It's going to be a summer social themed meeting to be determined on location.
All right, we will move to elected officials report. Any elected officials? CJ in the back?
All good. We have committee meetings on Monday, and then third Monday, I think is scheduled.
Senator Hammer?
Committee meetings for leg audit tomorrow and normal committee meeting routine, and be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you for being here. Senator Clark, any additional comments?
No, I've spent plenty of time.
Who am I missing?
Rodney, Sheriff.
Wait, say again. Rodney, I'm so sorry I didn't see you back there.
No, everything's good.
You didn't have to put any cuffs on anybody tonight? Not yet.
Not yet. Needs to come back Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
I'm standing in front of the sheriff, but I'm gonna behave myself and say all is good, because I don't wanna get out of here without it.
Thank you for being here tonight. All right, let's see, any additional? Yes, sir. Yes, we're at the beginning. We'll have that discussion on Monday. We'll start to formulate time, place, location. We do want to make this affordable for individuals. We want to make sure that we're putting great thought into this. We got a great group of people who have been through this before, great leadership with Steve and Tammy and Julia. So we'll have more details to share with the Lincoln David at our next one. Yes. Any other elected officials that I have missed? Yell them out. All right. So is there any additional new business that needs to come before the committee tonight? Hey.
I was going to circle back, to ask about the future expenses. Seeing as how we did approve to go ahead with the insurance earlier. So based on, as we discussed earlier, based on our potential future expenses, all those debts coming through, that would technically put us in the hole. I got a couple questions, and I think I'm gonna lead into a motion, so if you bear with me here. I do know two of those big optional items are the building painting and t-shirts. That's $5,500 worth of purely optional expenses. I know the building painting was through Southpaw Designs. Who are you doing the shirts through?
What we decided at the last meeting was the shirts would be funded by Scott Gray, and he would not recoup the money until, there would be no expense to the committee until after all the money. So the $2,000 there is null and void at this point.
Okay. So still in question though, what business is that
What's
through?
the business then?
We'll discuss that at the executive meeting.
Okay, that's yet to be determined.
Okay, when that business is, can we be?
Of course.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I would like to make a motion at this point until the insurance is truly funded and finalized. Can we table the optional items until our expenses are leveled? So we can actually
So
properly
you're
budget?
saying your motion is to table the painting at the moment?
Correct. Just table the future expenses until our 100% required items are finalized. That way we can properly budget as a committee.
There's a motion on the floor to table the expenses. Second by who? I'm sorry, say again.
Tammy Schmidt.
Tammy Smith.
And to be clear, I'm talking about line item B and C because those are a bulk of our financial funds.
Okay, so there's a motion to table future expenses, which includes t-shirts and painting, sorry. There's a motion, there's a second. Is there any additional discussion before we move to a vote?
As a point of order, a motion to table Is, you have to vote on it without discussion.
You have to vote on that, say again?
Without discussion.
Without discussion. Okay, thank you very much. So there's a motion to table those expenses, there's a second, all in favor of tabling this, and accepting this motion, all in favor of this tabling, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No!
The noes have it. Okay, is there any additional new business? So I want to stress this part before we wrap up. If during the roll call I did not call your name, please come up and let me and Renee know so she can mark you as present. We want to make sure, sometimes people are going to be a little bit late. That's okay. So if we have missed you, if we didn't call your name, if you hadn't been here a while, please come up and see Renee. Since there's no additional new business, yes, sir?
Can I say something?
Yes, come on up.
I know there's a lot of discussion and questions about the library, and so Tuesday, June 13th, Saline County Republican Women's Meeting, a lot of that has kind of turned into a big library discussion. Y'all are all welcome to come, and Angela will be glad to answer questions tonight after this meeting, but for purposes of time, come and we'll hash it out in great detail to the extent you want. And as to the building, that's a contract that's already in place. We've already paid $500, I believe, toward that.
Was it $1,500 we paid already?
More.
As a deposit for the painter?
And, you know, we can discuss whether he's breached the contract or not by taking that much time, but that's a commitment that we've already made whether we like it or not. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but the t-shirts, Brad, we handled that last time. I'm personally going to fund the t-shirts because that's what our committee wanted, and I believe in it, and I think it's something we need to do. And those t-shirts are not an expense. Those t-shirts are going to generate a profit for the committee, which I'm going to immediately donate back to the committee. And every dime of that, we're not keeping one dime of that. So it's really, it's really a fundraiser for the committee, and there is no expense whatsoever to the committee. Thank you.
Gary Dunn?
David, has Ed Alvarez reached out to you to seek help for setting a resolution for the Saline County Quorum Court for the paper ballot?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So I want to say this before we adjourn. Thank you very, was there someone else, another speaker? Another. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, sorry.
Just an announcement, so we did it last month, but not this Saturday, but next, June 10th at 9:30 a.m. at the Benton Library. My wife and I are doing the Brave Book Story Hour, so for all kids, slap in the face to Patty Hector.
Amen.
As well as just promoting just God's truth in our library.
Right. Thank you. So that leads into this. What time?
9:30 a.m.
9:30 a.m. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your courage to speak up. Senator Clark mentioned this earlier. It's not always easy doing what you're doing, but it's always necessary for the future. It's hard work, it's determination, but more than anything, God is being intentional with the Saline County Republican Committee. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you. So, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All of those in favor, please stand up. Thank you very much.